What's up, everybody? We are back with another review, one I'm very excited for, and that is for Halo Campaign Evolved. Normally I explain the game. If you don't know Halo Combat Evolved, I don't know where you've been in gaming for the last 20, 25 years, whatever it is, but Halo Campaign Evolved is the remake of Halo Combat Evolved, which we did have an anniversary edition of, but Halo Campaign Evolved is Unreal Engine based remake of Halo Combat Evolved. As usual, we're going to go through our cons, our so-sos, and our pros, and then I'll give you my final thoughts and my final rating. If you want to watch me play brand new games live, I play new games whenever they interest me. Twitch is linked down below. But starting off with the cons, the cutscenes were low FPS. According to at least Steam's FPS counter, they were 30 FPS. Well, I had it on high settings recording and streaming. I was getting around 90 to 100 FPS through most of the game. I don't know why the cutscenes are so much lower, but they are. I just thought that was odd, and you don't really notice it too much while you're just playing because they're just theatric cutscenes, but I do think it was odd. And then along those lines, because this is Unreal Engine 5, you can expect the normal stutters and some FPS dips in some areas, which I definitely got when I was playing through the campaign. What are you going to do? That's just how Unreal Engine 5 has been. Very few games have been able to work past that. It doesn't really ruin the game. It was just not great. So this is one of the first things that is different in the remake that I'll talk about, and that is the radar location. It was up in the top right, well, I guess camera's backwards, top right of the screen, which you can see above me. Instead of the typical bottom left, my eyes took a while to not by habit go down to where it normally is and go up to where it newly is. And I think you can change the HUD. I don't remember, but that was just odd. I didn't like that. I don't know why you can't just leave it where it's always been in every Halo game. The next thing I didn't like was there was sequel stuff in the prequel missions, as well as the SMG was in the main game. And if you don't know, the SMG did not come till Halo 2. Same thing with the battle rifle. The SMG and the battle rifle were in the prequel missions, which, if you don't know, there's 3 bonus prequel missions that they created for this game that show you more of Master Chief and Johnson's history. But there was also brutes, which I did not like. And so I just didn't like that stuff because, like, timeline, it doesn't make sense. And you know, we're looking at the game. We're looking at the time period before the first Halo, and there's stuff that didn't appear until Halo 2. So, like, timeline stuff that really didn't make sense, and I did not like that. There was also flood types that are the tanks in the main campaign, which doesn't really make sense because those didn't appear until, I want to say, Halo 3. And so that stuff shouldn't have been in the remake of the first game. I didn't like that. I also didn't like that there was new guns in the prequels. Once again, we're talking about guns that are brand new or guns that came in, even sequel guns again that were in the prequels. I just didn't like that. And then the other thing, another thing that's a con was there's way too many fuel rod cannon grunts and hunters that weren't in the game originally. And this kind of goes into my next con where I thought the game was easier to get through, and like just the gameplay itself was easier. The enemies felt easier than Halo Combat Evolved, which I did replay very recently. I've been replaying through all of the main Halo games because for some reason I just never played Infinite's campaign, so I've been replaying through all of them leading up into Infinite over on Twitch on Sundays, and this game just felt easier than the Anniversary and the Original Edition do. And so to combat it being too easy, it felt like they just placed a bunch of random hunters that weren't there. They placed fuel rod cannon grunts throughout levels, especially in the end game, that just weren't there in the original game. And so instead of trying to make the enemies a little tougher, they just added more annoying enemies and hunters. And so I thought the game, I didn't like that it was easier than I remember it being, especially in the beginning of the game. It felt like you just breeze right through it. And then to combat some of the easiness, they just added more annoying enemies, which I did not like. Those are my cons. moving on to the so-sos, and I do have a spoiler so-so that I'll put after my pros.
You guys are welcome for being the distraction.
For my only real so-so was the non-original aspects. Like, you can ADS everything now, and, like, you can ADS the assault rifle, which wasn't a thing. ADSing the pistol was always a thing, but you used to not be able to ADS the assault rifle. You would just, like, zoom in with your visor, but not, like, ADS zoom. I didn't like that. I thought it was so that they added a lot of new cutscenes and extended cutscenes. You can now pick up the energy sword. They added markers to show the last enemies in waves before you can move on. They changed areas and missions where they either added new areas, added new tasks, changed some layouts, didn't like that. And then just having, like, the flood tanks being added and some other enemy variety that wasn't there before. And, you know, I didn't like this, but I didn't want to put this as a con because some people will like this. I just wish there was a mode to toggle it to be the, like, original experience and the original layout for maps and all that. I wish there was a way to play that with the new graphics and all the modern updates that were given to this game. But a lot of people also like that this isn't just a copy and paste into Unreal Engine 5 and that there is some new experiences to keep it fresh. And so I didn't want to put that in cons. I didn't want to put that in pros, but that's my only non-spoiler so that I want to talk about. So for the pros, it's a Bungie Halo at heart. Like I mentioned, I've been playing through all of the Halos, and Halo 1, 2, and 3, great times. Really enjoyed replaying those recently. And then I got to 4 and I got to 5. 4 is now, in my opinion, the worst Halo of the mainline Halo games. Yeah, I haven't played Infinite yet. That's coming up this Sunday. If you want to hang out live on Twitch, link down below. But the fact that this is not a 343 or now Halo Studios storyline greatly benefits this game, that it is a Bungie Halo at heart. Because, you know, there's things in the gameplay aspect that, you know,
or not
for 343 and now Halo Studios are fine. Like sprinting, which was a big controversy, which I didn't know where to put that on this list. I don't mind sprint. It doesn't really speed you up anymore, but I'm somebody who, like, mentally is impatient with games sometimes. So I like tricking myself into moving a lot faster. But, like, I don't mind stuff like that that are in later Halos. But when it comes from a storyline perspective, Halo Studios, then 343 when they made 4 and 5, have come nowhere close to what Bungie was able to do. And so the fact that Halo Studios recreated this, but they had to follow a Bungie story, was a huge pro for this. Another pro I have is that they added co-op. I haven't tried the co-op, but especially for Halo 3, I have fond memories of playing some co-op with people and playing through on Legendary. And so the fact that they added co-op to this game, which did not previously have campaign co-op, was a nice addition. I also like, this is a very small pro, but grunt voices. Replaying 4 and 5, I was disgusted at the deep sounding grunts. They should be high pitched and, like, whiny sounding, and they stayed true to Halo Combat Evolved, and that's how the grunts sound in this. Then you have the graphics. Of course, the graphic updates are wonderful, especially on the Silent Cartographer level. The beach and the water and everything just looks so beautiful. And, you know, the snow maps are less of an upgrade because you can only do so much with bleak, white and gray landscapes and skyboxes, but fidelity is way higher. The graphics look awesome. And this was a well-deserved graphical update for an all-time great FPS game. And then finally, the guns just felt right. They felt like they shot right. I think they nailed the gun feel in this game. If you are a classic Halo player, I don't think these guns should feel odd or weird. I think they should really feel how they should. And so, you know, the big upgrade really was just making the mechanics a little bit smoother, making the graphics better, but everything else really feels like true Halo if you can ignore the non-original aspects and some of the other stuff I mentioned. And overall, I really liked the game. The one spoiler so I have, skip like 15 to 30 seconds if you don't want it to be spoiled. But there's a space flying mission, which is the last mission of the prequel missions. It was boring. It just felt like a Star Wars Squadron knockoff. That's how I felt in the Halo Reach flying missions. I didn't think it was horrible. I didn't think it was good. It was just, it almost felt like filler and it was boring. But that's my spoiler so. So at the end of the day, Halo holds a very near and dear place in my heart. It was the first FPS campaign that I can remember playing through. Halo Combat Evolved was the first game I played when I got my original Xbox for my birthday. God, what was that, like my 8th, 9th birthday? I got Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2 with it. Shout out to my parents for letting not even preteen me play rated M FPS games, but Halo CE, I loaded it right in, I played through it, I was obsessed with it, and, you know...
Stop shooting bodies and shoot the fucking
so there's
hunter.
a, like, nostalgic part of my heart here. It is unfortunate that they did not include multiplayer in this. New multiplayer with online would have been awesome, but you can always go play the Master Chief Collection, and they never advertised it as having multiplayer, and so... I didn't want to put that anywhere on the list. It would have been fun, a nice nostalgia to have an updated multiplayer going and playing on Blood Gulch. They were named different things in Halo 1 and 2. I won't say it was Blood Gulch for Halo 1. Going to be able to play like on that map especially would bring back a lot of memories, but the memories were brought back nonetheless. The nostalgia was definitely activated by this game. And despite some of the stuff I really didn't like, the overall game did really feel like just a graphically updated Halo, with smoother mechanics and all of that. And so I really, really enjoyed my time. The 5-ish hours that it took me to play through the original remastered campaign, plus the 2.5 hours it took me to play through the prequel missions, which, by the way, if you want to watch my playthrough, I'll have the playlist linked down below that contains both those videos, as well as my single-player channel. The time flew by. It felt like good old Halo. It really activated the nostalgia. That being said, I can't ignore the so-sos and the cons that I listed, and if you don't mind any of that stuff, I think this is easily a 9 out of 10 game and trip down nostalgia lane, but I'm feeling like a 7, 7.5 because I really didn't like the sequel stuff. I'm a bit of a purist. I didn't like the sequel stuff and the new guns being in the prequels and in the main remake. I didn't like the radar location change. I didn't like all the addition of the extra hunters and fuel rod grunts and just like it made parts of the game that were great annoying. And one of the biggest mission changes, which spoiler, skip like 10 seconds ahead, was they changed the end Warthog run, and that is criminal to change the end of that mission and to change some of that mission. Those are like the missions that you can't touch in my mind are the final missions of each of the first 3 games. And so being a bit of a Halo purist at heart and really holding Halo in a special place for me, I have to give it a 7 or 7.5 out of 10. It was a great walk down memory lane with a great graphical update, but there was just too many things that were just not original that I didn't like. And, you know, some of the prequel stuff, like timeline stuff, I didn't like, but of course that's not going to be original. It's not going to be something you experience in the original or the anniversary because it didn't exist until this game. And I do like that they added more backstory for someone who doesn't read the Halo books and stuff, that add some missions that give some more lore and backstory. But if you aren't a purist and you just love Halo itself, I think this is a 9 out of 10 experience. If you have never played Halo in your life, I do think that this is more of like somewhere in between my scores because some of this is elevated by the nostalgia. But it is definitely not a modern campaign outside of the graphics. And so, you know, I'd give it like 8 to 9. 9 for sure if you aren't a purist and you really love Halo. But for someone who is more of a purist, it's like a 7, 7.5. And you have to decide for you is, you know, 7 to 9 hours of one playthrough worth, was it $50 and $70 if you want the premium? Is that worth it to you? I think it is. As someone who loves Halo, I paid for the early access because I was so excited, and I want to go replay through it. I want to try campaign remix mode some. I want to hunt down all the skulls in the terminals, which I only found 12 out of 42 skulls, and I only missed like 2 out of 12 terminals or whatever it is. So I want to go back and find those. I want to keep playing through it, maybe try to find some people to play co-op with, because I just love Halo. And so it was worth it to me. You have to decide if it's worth it for you, but if you've never played Halo because you've always been on PlayStation, I think it's worth it, at least even if you have to wait for it to go on sale. And if you're a Halo lover or you just love FPS campaigns and for some reason you never played Halo, I think it's absolutely worth it. But those are my thoughts on Halo Campaign Evolved. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you like my content and you want to see it first. And come hang out live this Sunday when I play Halo Infinite. It'll probably be spread over 2 Sundays because I think it's the longest Halo campaign, if I remember correctly. and I don't have like 10 to 12 hours to spend the Sunday, but check out the links in the description down below and the playthrough and all of that. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next review. Have a good day. Bye.